going from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, Tobago, and welcome this morning to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. It is a beautiful Thursday morning. Really happy to be in your company. It's a little wet and rainy on the outside, but we're really happy to be in your company this morning. We're coming to you live this morning from the 3rd floor, Portmore, Lower Scarborough. I am Ria Richardson George. Good morning to Trinidad, Tobago, those of you viewing in the Caribbean, and those of you on the live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Julian is not with us this morning, but we've got quite an interesting program for you this morning, and we trust that you're going to share the live and share the live and share the live and share the live. Well, viewers, just some breaking news before we head on over into the news this morning. Breaking news, there's been a murder in Signal Hill, and this morning, dead is Donnell Thomas of Signal Hill. All right, details are still a little bit sketchy, and information is still coming to hand, but as the morning progresses, once we get that information, we will be able to pass it on to you. But so far, what we do know is that the gentleman, Donnell Thomas, was shot shot at his Signal Hill home in Tobago this morning. But like I said, more information a little bit later on. Well, before we head on into, what else has been happening throughout Tobago and Trinidad and the Caribbean, we want to head on over into news in 90 seconds with Candace.
Thank you, Ria. I am Kiesel Jackson, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Thursday, 27th April 2023. The Cabo Star is expected to go on its scheduled dry docking from June 5th to the 16th. According to the Inter-Island Transportation Company Limited, this dry docking is necessary for the vessel's maintenance. During those 2 weeks, vehicles up to 7,000 kilograms will be accommodated on the Buku Reef and the APT James. Overloaded vehicles and others with extensions will not be allowed to board. Due to space limitations, no cargo will be stored at the port, and flatbed operations will stop during the period. Additionally, dangerous cargo will not be accommodated on either the APT James or the Buku Reef. And the president of the All Tobago Fisherfolk Association, Curtis Douglas, called on Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and THA Chief Secretary to intervene in the flying fish concerns between Barbados and Tobago. Last week, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, said a meeting is soon to be arranged between the fisheries departments from both countries. Douglas, however, wanted to know when and where a meeting would be held, as well as if the fishermen will be present. He said they wanted a chance to explain their concerns and propose solutions for an amicable resolution. And finally, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said he will not be meeting with political leader of the National Transformation Alliance and former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffiths. On Sunday, Griffith called for a meeting with the Prime Minister and opposition leader to propose plans to address crime. In response to a question in the House, Dr. Rowley claimed he had no desire to meet with Griffith under any circumstances. Meanwhile, the opposition was accused of obstructing all government efforts to combat crime. Rowley added that he already has experts on which he relies on for assistance with the crime situation. And that was the news in 90 seconds. It is back to you, Ria.
Thank you so much there, Candace. Thank you so much there, Candace. And Candace, I have to say here, welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Candace, with regards to what's been happening, we saw this morning a murder in Tobago. We chatted with the new Assistant Commissioner quite recently, Collis Hazel, who indicated that there is a new sheriff in town. And of course, perpetrators, those persons who have been committing crimes, should be put on the alert. We haven't heard from you on that in any recent time. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, no, Mr. Hazel is definitely one person that's committed to the job, and we'll see how it works. I mean, the unfortunate thing about our heads here in Tobago, when it comes to the police, they don't last very long in a position. They're always often very close to retirement, so they only stay maybe a couple of years, 2-3 years. Maybe Mr. Collis Hazel might be on for a bit longer than we've had in the past, because that stability helps with, rallying the force underneath him. and making sure that they are able to do what they need to do to get a handle on crime. This murder this morning brings the total to five for the year so far. We're only in April, and I don't know, it seems to mirror in a way what's happening in Trinidad as well, because Trinidad is seemingly out of hand with what's going on, and it's just, I don't know, it's an unfortunate situation. And it's of course unfortunate that, you know, Mr. Colors Hazel was just gotten this position and he already has to, you know, hit the road running in terms of, you know, some serious crime.
Definitely. And I remember at Tobago, you might be a little bit too young to remember, but I certainly remember Tobago when there might have been at least one murder.
I remember that Tobago too. I'm not that young, but
you know,
I remember that Tobago as well. Yeah.
Yeah. When the numbers were climbing in Trinidad, there were years when there were no murders in Tobago. And I really wish we can go back to that Tobago.
Certainly. But it seems as though, you know, there are still some young persons, some people that, you know, continue to involve themselves in crime and continue to get themselves mixed up in these unfortunate situations that leads to their demise in a really bad way.
Yeah. Okay, Candace, thank you so much for chatting with us. All right, viewers, so we're going over to our birthday celebrations today, and on to our birthday celebrations. We've got one birthday so far, one person, and this is my very good friend out there, Coach Corbin Cooper, who celebrates his birthday today. So Corbin, lots of love going out to you from the class of 5B and the 89ers of Signal Hill Senior Comp, now Signal Hill Secondary. So, and all of us here at Tobago Updates. So lots of love going out to you, and happy birthday to you, Corbin Cooper. Well, we're going to let you know, viewers, what's coming up on the program this morning. And to start things off this morning, we will be chatting with Kiesel Jackson, former deputy political leader of the PDP Trinidad. She's going to be on the program with us this morning as we speak about Rowley's unspoken political games. And she'll tell us a little bit more about her train of thought. We will also be chatting this morning with Dr. Stephen Shepherd, CEO Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Industry. And it's Stephen Shepherd, and Mr. Gosine, Corporate Executive Manager of Kariri. And they're going to chat with us this morning on hospitality and tourism industry training sessions. And we're going to close things up and wrap things up this morning chatting with Jude Rogers, Fire Prevention Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. And our focus will be on fire safety awareness can save lives. So that's what our program looks like this morning, and we want to connect with all of you on the live this morning. We want to thank all of you for joining us this morning on the live. Desmond Woods, good morning to you. My very good friend out in Glamorgan, Laura Bernard, good morning. Good morning. St. Lambert Williams, who is always locked on, always connected. We say good morning to you and Miss Williams. Eugene St. Louis, Alicia Devines, Pearl Murray Beard, good morning to you. It's so good to have all of you on the live here with us this morning. And I see here Eugene St. Louis asking the question, is autonomy a gift or a right? And that's certainly a question for discussion, an issue for serious discussion. But we want to thank you for throwing it into the mix this morning. Well, viewers, lots more coming up this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. We want to remind you here, even as you share the live, that we've got, we're going to go on over to Tobago in Focus, but share the live, share the live, share the live.
The Division of Education, Research and Technology's Student Support Services provides a range of services all geared at the holistic development of all children, including those who require special education services. School psychologist Marian Kent dispelled the notion that special education is a place. Rather, it is about encouraging children to embrace themselves.
Special education is a range of services that's afforded to individuals who are students who struggle academically, behaviorally, emotionally, socially, in fitting in and being able to perform with the reading, the math, even achieving goals.
Assistant Education Coordinator Susan Grant explained that a child with special needs or one requiring special education services are not limited to academic shortcomings. It also includes children who are creative or exceptional.
Special needs is not only what we see or the obvious. We have to talk about those who are the exception, who are brilliant and are moving ahead of our mainstream curriculum, and those who, because of circumstances, may end up needing specialized services.
Providing the best services for our children is the department's top priority and often requires collaboration with other divisions and agencies. However, the most important partnership is with the family. Ms. Kent appealed to parents and guardians to support the work of the department by becoming advocates for their children. The Division of Education, Research and Development's Student Support Services provides various services to students from early childhood to secondary school.
Viewers, welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates morning show. Our guest this morning is Ms. Kiesel Jackson, former deputy political leader of the PDP Trinidad. And our topic for discussion this morning is Rowley's unspoken political games, or the Prime Minister's unspoken political games. Good morning and welcome to you this morning.
Thank you, Ria. Good morning to you as well as Tobago Updates. Yes?
Now, I'm not even sure where to start this morning. Mm-hmm. Now, Ms. Jackson, it's good to have you on the program with us this morning. We're talking about unspoken political games. Unspoken political games, you would say by the...
By our present Prime Minister.
By our present or current Prime Minister. But there's some who would say, but Kiesel Jackson, you're the one playing political games
of course. Here. We are all on the board of chess. We are all on the board of chess, just different pieces and different players. So yes, I'm on that board as well.
Now, quite recent, you did a live where you spoke about the games that you believe the current Prime Minister is playing. But you also sounded as though you were in support of the current Chief Secretary, Farley Augustine, when quite recently, in fact, in several of the lives that you produced, you spoke against him in no uncertain terms. Is it that we are to believe that you have shifted sides?
All right, let me explain. Because common enemy, common identity. We have a common enemy, and that is our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. We have to understand who really is Keith Christopher Rowley. Now, Farley Chavez Augustine, Chief Secretary, Watson Solomon Duke, political leader of the PDP, they are still new to Keith Christopher Rowley. Since 2003, I have been exposed to the PNM and the workings of the PNM. I have been a political writer since 2003. A lot of persons do not understand my history. So I am coming with a wealth of information, and pay attention to the pattern of the pieces. Now, Keith Christopher Rowley, at that time, I'm going back now for you to understand before I go forward. Right. He was the Minister of Trade, Labor. He was then revoked. His position was revoked. Remember when the Prime Minister came out, the then Prime Minister, God rest his soul, Patrick Manning came out and spoke about the raging bull. Rowley would have come out and said that when he was speaking to Kamala, he said to her, I am from Mason Hall, close to Lekoto. Remember what happened to the last person that put me out of anywhere. Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, he was in fact, it was as though he was boasting about necromancy and black magic. To what extent? Because Patrick Manning would have suffered a stroke. Pay attention to the tread rear. On the 23rd, he was revoked. On the 23rd of another month, Patrick Manning would have suffered a stroke. And when he got that victory, he won 23 seats. People don't understand that is much more than the physical. There's a lot that takes place, and it is taboo about necromancy and bad and black magic. Now, what Dr. Keith Rowley is doing right now, he's playing mastermind because he's a strategist. I must give him that. He's a political strategist. Now he's playing the mastermind and acting as though he's off the board. How so? When Keith Christopher Rowley would have lost to the PDP 14-1, that was not the end of him. Remember, he said on a platform, the last person that put me out of anywhere, look at what happened to them. So the last island that put him out of anywhere, pay attention to his own words. History have a way of repeating itself. Pay attention to people's pattern. What is Rowley hoping to achieve? Now, when the debacle take place between Farley Augustine and Watson Solomon Duke, he was unusually silent. Why is that? We have to understand also the psychology behind sometimes power and persons. Now, Farley Chavez Augustine would have been very new. So he would have been like a political virgin in the political arena. Having some level of respect and esteem for our Prime Minister, because there was subliminal respect that he would have had as a young man looking up to another black Prime Minister, probably hoping with political ambitions to reach there someday. Keith Christopher Rowley, on the other hand, paying attention to the players. He must get a Trojan horse. What he would have done, understanding the psychology behind his actions, which is repetitive, he divides to conquer. So he would have been penetrating the dear Farley Chavez Augustine, acting like he had good intentions, befriending him, maybe telling him, well, boy, you are a better leader. You may not have need Watson Solomon Duke. You should go for it. When the debacle took place, when the 13 resigned, there were a lot of talk among the political pundits. There were a lot of talk around the political thinkers. But pay attention, the Prime Minister remained unusually silent at that time. Why at that time he did not say anything? All were speaking, all were making, political noise at that time. People were questioning. I myself came forward and spoke that it was morally wrong. It was a vulgar breach, and I still stand in that position, a vulgar breach of the democratic will of the people. However, he said absolutely nothing. He sat and he waited. Strategy again. He waited for what? The registration of the Tobago People's Party. Because what would that mean? That there is a new political party in the arena of the equation. Will that divide the PNM? Oh no, it's not dividing the PNM, because it is an internal division between the PDP and the TPP. Now, when we begin to divide from one, there's less. We are not dividing from the greater set, which is the PNM voters, as opposed to the PDP voters. It is just the PDP voters being split in two. When they register that party, of course, he'll want to signal an election. Not that it is legally imperative to happen, because by no means an election will happen. There will be no election. But he would want to instigate. He would want to basically fan the flames, wake up that flame to cause chaos and confusion in the space of Tobago and in the minds of Tobagonians.
Question.
Yes, please.
What does Kiesel Jackson gain by, why do you feel that you need to be the one to bring this information to the viewers or to the public, considering your history with the PDP? Why do you feel that you need to be the one?
Because my history has been a common history. Now, what I would have is experience. We have a lot of inexperienced politicians right now in THA. What I'm also bringing to the table is the same thing that I brought to the table initially. My mantra has not changed. My political ideology has not changed. I came into politics to fight against the ultimate bully, the dictator, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. That has not changed.
What do you stand to gain from all of this? Is this the prelude to a political party?
No. We'll go to that just now. It is very unfair when you have players that don't understand the game. If you're playing cricket, you expect the players to understand cricket. You expect cricketers. You don't expect footballers to come on cricket. If you're playing basketball, you expect the players to know about basketball. But I am sitting down and I am watching and I'm analyzing the games of Keith Christopher Rowley that maybe the players are not cognizant of.
So you believe that it is your duty?
Because what will happen, we pay attention to it, right? We can mark it down now in history. If an election is called, I might tell you no election will be called, but if an election is called, PDP nor TPP will regain power of Tobago. Tobago will go back into the hands of the oppressor. If an election is called today, with all certainty, the Prime Minister understands that Tobago will come back into his hand.
And you believe that is the ultimate goal?
That is his ultimate goal.
All right, I asked the question earlier. What do you
Here I say gold, G-O-L-D.
Not
and I didn't say
G-O-A-L.
gold. Yes, gold. That's what he's playing for.
Gold. What is your ultimate objective here?
To open the eyes of both the electorate and the leaders. We have no winners. We have no winners. There's no winner in the TPP and there's no winner in the PDP. What you also have, there are a number of supporters who just will not come out and vote. Because remember that debacle would have caused some persons to become disenchanted, disillusioned, and they say, well, they came with so much grandiose ideas, they came out there and we give them everything, we rallied behind them, and look at the party now, divided into two. So there will be some persons that just will not vote at all. You would lose some voters. At this point in time, the both leaders have to understand that they are being played. So you are seeing as though Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley right now is playing into Watson Duke's corner. Almost as though he's trying to fire up Watson Duke, fire him up, to cause a greater division now. It's like you're trying to play with old wounds that is not properly healed. You're digging into old wounds that is not properly healed. Why now? Why now he is calling for an election? Why not then?
You are no longer affiliated with the PDP.
No, I am not.
No. Is there a desire, is there a hope to align yourself with the TPP?
No, I have no hope in aligning myself with the TPP. What I want to give is information, because they were also once my colleagues. Listen to me.
Have you sought to meet with the members of the TPP?
I can't say that right now, right? I prefer not to answer that question. But we have to remember, Ria, that Farley Chavez Augustine, he's not my enemy. Watson Solomon Duke, he is not my enemy. Forget about personality and person. We are speaking about a national war. We are speaking about power. We are speaking about politics. We are speaking about pride. And we are speaking about a country that is constantly oppressed by a dictator that will use any means necessary to retain power, to restool his position in Tobago.
There are some who would say that this present administration or the previous under the PDP would have put themselves in the position that they are in at this point. You are alluding that the Prime Minister would have fanned the flames.
Of course, he was fanning in the background.
Would have worked black magic. Would have worked.
Of course, he was doing. He said it himself.
To create what we see today.
I am saying that without an apology. I am saying that without an apology.
Okay. What is it that you would like the people of Tobago to take note of, or viewers, those in Trinidad, those in Tobago, what would be the one message that you would want them to remember, if nothing else, from Kiesel Jackson this morning?
Remember the power of prayer. Now is a time more than ever to begin to pray. Now is a time to turn away from black magic and necromancy and understand that judgment is for all of us. Now is a time for us to come together, those of us who really want a better Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not isolating Tobago from Trinidad. A better Trinidad and Tobago, to put aside ego, to put aside pride. Here, how many times I'm alluding to this? To put aside personality and to put aside the desire for ultimate power. Now is the time.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning.
You're most welcome, Ria.
All right. The live persons have several comments.
Sure.
I'm gonna, yeah. I think most persons at the end of the day are wondering, just lost it.
Sure.
Why? Well, the purpose of the interview this morning.
Right. Persons that can't see purpose still probably caught up in partisan politics. We are not talking about party. We are talking about country. We are talking about an island that is going back into the hands of a dictator if we are not cognizant to the games of Keith Christopher Rowley. When Tobagonians would have rallied together, you all came together to fight against an oppressor. You all collectively came together by consensual agreement. You all placed your ballot. It was never ever seen before in history. In 21 years, you all got rid of the PNM. Do you really want to put the PNM back into power? This is a question that you all can ask yourself.
I have a question on the live here.
Sure.
A viewer is asking, what steps would you advise Fali to take to fix the problems?
Good question. He's young and he's still very much inexperienced. He need not one advisor, but he need a body of advisors. You're playing against a seasoned opponent, one that has many years ahead of you, one that is a strategist that will work via the night. When you're sleeping in the night, he's working in the night. You need advisors, collective advisors. You need a strong legal team as well. Because this issue that I'm seeing with the EMA Act as opposed to the THA Act, that as well, I think he's ill-advised on that. He needs to get a strong legal team. Because remember, the THA is an administrator of Tobago. That means that you all would have the responsibility of environmental responsibilities as well. So in saying that the THA have to exclude the EMA and has ultimate power over the EMA would be erroneous. That decision with building the bridge in the sea could not have been a unilateral decision. A CEC was needed from EMA. But again, with proper advisors, not one, because there are a lot of ambiguity that is surrounding the Tobago House of Assembly Act, a lot of ambiguity. But he needs a collective, a body of advisors. He may have all the right intentions, good intentions, but he needs experience from persons who would come with that. Yes?
Right, I'm finally here. Why so much interest in Tobago at this point, Kiesel Jackson?
I have always had interest in Tobago. I wish for Tobagonians to stop separating and saying, why so much interest in Tobago? Because we are Trinidad and Tobago.
I know, but you, all of a sudden...
Not all of a sudden. I have always had interest in Tobago. Not now, not yesterday, years ago. Remember, my grandmother is also Tobagonian. I am much a part of Tobago's culture. And it is time for us to stop the you against me and the we against he and the she against he. Because we are one country. Two islands, yes, but one country. We have to stop the separation. We have to stop the division. If we are moving forward together, if we are moving forward as one country, then we must change first our mentality.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. But thank you again for being on the program with us this morning.
No problem, Ria.
All right, so viewers, lots more coming up on the Tobago Updates morning show. And we want to thank Ms. Jackson for being with us this morning. We're going to shift gears, viewers, as we chat with Dr. Stephen Shepherd, who is the CEO of the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Industry. And joining us is Magnath Gosain, the Corporate Executive Manager of Kariri. And the focus this morning is on hospitality and tourism industry training sessions. So lots more coming up on the Tobago Updates morning show. So share the live, share the live, share the live.
Yes, be careful.
Honey, I feel like we're going to start to cook, yes, because these children must be hungry now. Right? Okay.
Oh, shucks. Oh. These plugs, oh my gosh.
Hey, Jack, hey, come from there. Come from there.
What's going on in here?
Oh God, I should have buy exhibition, boy. What would you do if this happened to you? Dial 990 in case of fire emergencies and always have a serviceable fire extinguisher ready and available at all times.
Sign up, save, and win every day with Digicel Plus. You could win a tablet or a TV every single day. Just sign up for Digicel Plus and like yourself. Visit digiceltt.com or a Digicel store to sign up now. Promotion ends May 19th and is approved by the NLCB.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Viewers, welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates morning show. We're chatting this morning with Dr. Stephen Shepherd, who is the CEO of the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Industry. And this morning, joining us on the live, we will be chatting with Magnath Gosain, who is the Corporate Executive Manager at Kariri. Our focus this morning is on our hospitality and tourism industry training session. Good morning and welcome to you, Dr. Shepherd.
Good morning. Thanks again for having me.
A pleasure to have you on the program with us this morning. I want you to remind our viewers this morning of what THTI brings to the tourism industry in Tobago, Trinidad, or to any island or country.
Okay, so THTI is primarily in the business of providing qualified and trained human resources for the hospitality and tourism sector in Trinidad and Tobago, because it is now the only accredited institution in that business in the country. So we look at all aspects of it. Specifically, what we're working on right now with TTAL, the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited, is improving the quality of customer service in Tobago. Because, I mean, we know that there have been issues over the last couple of years, And Caribbean also recognize that, so that's why Caribbean is on the line. And together, we really want to make Tobago a really desired or unbelievable destination that anyone would want to come and to come back. That's really the objective.
And what are the areas that would you in your opinion, would require customer service?
All areas, everywhere. And I keep emphasizing, this is not about tourism. This is about me and you. If you and I could go to anywhere in Tobago, whether it's a gas station, a grocery, a restaurant, a hotel, a double zone by the road, a roti shop, a parlor, and experience excellent service, then you would have done well.
Okay. So we say all areas. We want to bring in on the conversation here Magnath Gosain, Corporate Executive Manager attached to Kariri. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Gosain.
Good morning and thank you.
All right, so we're talking this morning about the hospitality and tourism industry training session. I want you to tell us this morning about Kariri's involvement and the purpose for partnering with THTI.
So Kariri has been working with small, medium-sized, large enterprises to improve their operations. We work with them to identify the opportunities and then implement actions that will assist them in improving their operations and by extension, the bottom line for these small enterprises, the medium enterprises that are now in many cases trying to recover from the impact of COVID-19. In this regard, Kariri recognizes that the hospitality and tourism industry in Tobago is key to the development of the island. For as long as we can remember, right, together with agriculture, tourism and hospitality has provided a lot of the economic activity for Tobago. And therefore, Kariri is seeking to work with our partners in Tobago to assist in the development of this industry. And one of the areas we have identified is the area of customer service.
All right, and I want to ask you here, Mr. Gosain, in terms of your observations, and this is before the decision to partner with THTI, what were some of the observations that propelled this initiative?
Okay, as we look at tourism and hospitality, and if we look at other possible destinations for tourists, they have beaches, they have events like the Jazz Festival and other events, and many of the things that we will be able to offer in Tobago. So if we have to develop a competitive edge, one of the ways we can develop that competitive edge is with respect to the quality of service that we provide to visitors to the island. And it's against that background we felt that we could work with Tobago to develop that competitive advantage so that when persons have to choose a destination, they choose it because of the sun and the sand, etc., but also because of the quality of service that they receive. And I endorsed the comment earlier that it's not just hospitality and tourism in a narrow sense. There's all those in Tobago who serve the hospitality and tourism sector. Whether we start with the customs officers, the immigration officers, the roadside vendors, the small guest houses, the larger hotels, all of your food establishments, the taxi drivers, they all serve the tourists. And therefore we are looking at capturing this wide range of stakeholders who serve the industry and who we think can benefit from improving the quality of service that we provide.
Thank you, Mr. Gosain. Dr. Shepard, tell us in terms of what THTI would be offering. What can persons expect? What sort of services, what sort of programs can the public expect?
With respect to customer service?
With respect to what is being offered, the industry training.
Okay, so the services offered by THTI in partnership with TTAL and a company from Singapore called Uplifting Service. It's much more than the customer service you know about. So we tend to think that customer service is saying good morning, hi, hello, and smiling and so on. That's what you see. In support of that are many systems of the organization in the back. And what we are working on is developing those systems, those backroom systems that will support the frontline people. So the service the program being delivered by THTI in conjunction with T-Talent Uplifting Service, you can actually more accurately describe it as organization development. So we are building strong organizations. It doesn't matter whether it's public or private sector. And what you will see, the manifestation is fantastic service. But let me just talk about the relationship with Kiriri. Kiriri is about building business. So the relationship between THTI and Kiriri is to provide Kiriri services in Tobago. You know, Kiriri is Caribbean Industrial Research Institute. And Tobago has many, many excellent micro-entrepreneurs. But to get their services tested, to get their labels, and to get the quantity of proteins and so on in their product, they have to go to Trinidad, which is an inconvenience. And we see now that the transportation has gone up. So the relationship enables Kiriri to use THTI's facilities, kitchens and so on, and offices to provide testing services for the businesses in Tobago, so they don't have to incur the cost and inconvenience and one day out of work to go to Trinidad to get their products tested. So Kiriri is about building business in Tobago. Hospitality and tourism is just one sector. There's much more that Kiriri will be looking at with us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, remind us of when all of this is happening, this in terms of the customer training.
The one we're working on started 2 years ago, and it's ongoing. And we've trained over 1,000 people already. We need to train probably about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 more. Everyone from this television station, everybody you could think of, and I want to ask you to recommend people. And for those who are still interested and not yet heard of it, I want you to email customer.service@thti.edu.tt or call the number 313-0456 to get more information. Or go on THTI's website and you'll see all the information there. And we have a basic model we call 6 levels of service that go from helping you to understand what is criminal service right up to unbelievable service and everything in between. So people will characterize the organization and then develop a plan for moving. If you are criminal, how we could move from criminal, for example, to desired or to expected or to surprising. But we want all organizations to improve the quality of service delivery, because service is actually free. To deliver good service doesn't cost you. It earns you money. Poor service will keep customers away. Excellent service will keep people coming back and back and back and back. And everybody's objective is to earn more income. So deliver good service, and we'll define what that means. And as I said, it's much more than shaking the hand and smiling and saying good morning. That is just a very small part of good service.
Isn't there a general rating per island, per country, with regards to customer service?
We don't have, if you go to New York, for example, there's something called a Zagat score that you could use to rate restaurants and hotels and so on. We don't have. That is part of this program. We will develop something so that people could help rate which is a good hotel and restaurant and so on. There's not a formal system in place as yet.
But wasn't there a time when Tobago was branded as that little island to go to?
There was a time.
That little island,
yes,
for everything, rest, relaxation, great customer service.
And it's still that island. But something happened along the way that the customer service component fell away. I mean, you go on Facebook, you look at the letters to the editor, and you see many people complaining, I went to Tobago and I received poor service, and that is not good. Because that will make people come and they experience the poor service and they won't come back. But worse, they go and tell their friends, don't go to that place, they rough you up there. We saw recently on a boat to the reef what happened. Those things are not good. Just one small example.
So we're talking from the airport and the Port Authority, all the way.
All the way to Charlottesville, to Bloody Bay, Lansome, to the reef, to Mount Irving, to Magdalena, everywhere. And we've trained many of the big hotels over there. I can tell you quickly who we've trained so far. I remember Magdalena, Cocoa Reef, Mount Irving, and many other hotels have been trained, and restaurants and taxis and individuals and some departments in the THA. So it's going both public and private sector. We just want everyone to experience it. And you will see that there's significant improvement in Tobago, and that's what you're looking for.
And tell us very quickly here with regards to customer service training objective goals. What are some of those goals?
Well, the ultimate goal is that, as the Chief Secretary said, we need to be known as the greatest little island on the planet. That's the ultimate goal. You can't wake up one morning and clip your fingers and that happens. There's a lot of work in between. So the thing is, when you go to anywhere, and you go to the grocery, to the gas station, to customs, immigration, to a parlor, you will feel, oh, I feel very happy. They treated me well. I will come back here. Yeah, all the time.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shepherd, for chatting with us this morning. We want to thank Mr. Gosain. Are you still there?
Yes,
okay. Even as we're wrapping up here this morning, very quickly, tell us why you believe that our viewers, why those persons should connect and be a part of this training.
Well, Samit, we share the view of the Chief Secretary that Tobago has the potential to be the greatest little island on the planet, our own heaven on earth. And we think that the way to do that is through our customer service, our relationship with those who choose to come to Tobago. And that starts even before they arrive in Tobago. It starts with using the technology, ensuring that the information that we have on social media, how we share that information, how we respond to customer complaints, how we evaluate customer service, that all of these are the little things that when brought together will contribute to making Tobago that special place that people would want to visit, will want to go back and tell their friends and family that it is the greatest little island. And that would probably be the best marketing that we can do for Tobago.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gosain. But Dr. Shepherd, we did not mention the date, time, and the cost of the training.
Okay, so the Kariri, is it the fourth, Mr. Gosain? Kariri's is $150. The THTI one, there's no charge to the participant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when is this happening?
THTI is every day.
Every day?
Every day, 3 times a day.
But what?
Online and face-to-face. Kariri is the 4th of May, Thursday the 4th of May.
Okay, and the starting time is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting with us, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And this is, again, a call for all persons, whether you believe that you're involved in customer service or not. But it makes us better people at the end of the day. So whether we, interact with each other or with the foreigner or with the guest, this is everybody's business. Yes? Thank you so much for chatting with us. Thank you again, Mr. Gosain.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much, dear viewers. Lots more coming up this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. So viewers, share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Johnny,
fire,
do
call fire,
something.
call fire, call
What's the
fire.
number? What's the number? What's the number? Oh, God.
Fan emergency, good afternoon. You said the building is on fire. Are there any persons trapped? 4 persons. What is the address of the call, ma'am? Number 4, Candy Drive, Pier Road. Can I have your name, please? Miss Bihari. Thank you, Miss Bihari. I'll be dispatching an appliance. Central Control from Fire Control.
Go ahead, Fire Control. Central Control is receiving over.
Central Control, have a plans and crew. Respond to our residential fire. residential fire. Same is at number 4, Kakandi Drive, Pero Chabonas. 4 persons are trapped, 2 adults, 2 children. They weren't able to make contact with fire service, so she called on their behalf.
Transmission received loud and clear, loud and clear. Operator Central Control 3463. Firefighter Wiley, Central Controller.
Create an evacuation plan for you and your family and practice your escape. Always ensure you have more than one way to safely exit your home. Your lives may depend on it.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, back this morning to the Tobago Updates morning show. We are chatting at this time with Jude Rogers, Fire Prevention Officer attached to the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. And this morning, viewers, our focus is on fire safety and awareness. Fire safety and awareness can save lives. That's how we say it. Fire safety awareness can save lives. Good morning and welcome to you, Jude Rogers. Good morning. Okay, I'm not hearing you. Are you hearing me? Okay, just to double check the mic. Okay, good morning. Are you hearing me clearly? Okay, I'm still not hearing you. Could you just check the mic one more time? Ensure that your mic is on. Sometimes these things can be just so ticklish. You think you put it on and then it's not on. Yeah? All right, I think we're gonna try again, because sometimes, okay, he's back. Good morning and welcome to you, Officer
Good morning,
Rogers.
are you hearing me now?
I am hearing you loud and clear. Thank you so much for being on the program with us. When coming to technology, sometimes it's just one little thing, so we understand. But it's good to have you on the program with us. And this is Jude Rogers, Fire Prevention Officer attached to the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Now, this morning, in fact, let me start off by saying here that we've been seeing some short videos that have been produced by the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. And I look at the scenarios and how real these scenarios are with our everyday life. Fire safety awareness can save lives. Do we take things for granted with regards to fire safety in Trinidad and Tobago?
The answer to that question is equivocally yes, we do take it. Because the fact that 700 fires annually. 700 fires in household means we have approximately 2 fires per day. That is a serious, serious issue that we're trying to eliminate. Not only that, we have approximately 25 to 20 deaths annually due to fires, and we can reduce that. We can bring that down to nil.
And I'm happy that you said that. We can bring it down to nil. In one of the videos that was shared, where the mother is pouring hot water from the kettle, there is an extension cord, several sockets in use. She's pouring hot water very close to the very close to the sockets, the electrical sockets. And I'm thinking here, we charge our cell phones, we have it on the bed, we do these things. This has become somewhat of a normal way of life for many persons. What are we missing? Yes, you said it can be reduced to nil, to zero. But what is it that we're missing? How did we reach here? There was a time when we knew what to do. How did we reach here?
Well, of course, in the fast-paced modern world that we live in, we use more electronical devices. We're using electricity at a higher rate. Everything is fast-paced now. So obviously, with the increase in activity, especially the use of electricity and electronic devices, we now increase the risk and the hazards associated with such. But again, this is a cultural shift that needs to take place and behaviors need to change. We need to go back to basics, and we need to recognize the value of doing things the right way. So for instance, when we utilize electricity in our homes, we multi-tap, because everybody wants to add 1, 2, 3 different electric items to a particular plug. But we're saying that each circuit should carry a certain amount of amperage, and we should not overload those circuits. So if it is that you want to add another piece of equipment and you've run out of plugs, you should have your electrician come to your home and add an additional plug that can take the levels and the load that you're putting on your home. But what we have is a lot of persons are multi-tapping, and that in itself is causing an electrical hazard, which can then lead to an ignition of your home.
And I have to say here that there's a lot of homes, several homes, that would have been wired many years ago, but wired to a particular set of electrical gadgets. And over the years, gadgets were added, and the wiring of the home did not upgrade.
It's a very good point that you're making.
Pressure, you're talking about added pressure or additional pressure on an electrical system.
Additional load on the system. And the point that you're alluding to is the fact that every 5 years, legally, you are responsible for having your electricals in your home recertified by the electrical inspectorate. Now, that's an agency that authorizes TNTech to connect your home with an electrical power source. But if you do not do this, if you do not bring back in or call in your electrician, your certified electrician, and you do not have that certificate renewed, you will not be able to even approach TNTech for compensation if in the event that there is a fire due to an electrical source. So it means, therefore, the only way you can verify the circuitry in your home is to conduct that electrical inspectorate inspection every 5 years, and it's your safe mode. By doing so, you're going to be protecting your home and your family's lives.
All right, I was just about to ask you, whose responsibility is it? Is it TNTech's responsibility, or is it the homeowner's responsibility to ensure that these checks are carried out every 5 years?
It is the responsibility of the homeowner, because it is that certificate that allows you to have access to TNTech's grid. And that is a responsibility of the homeowner. Clearly, the responsibility rests on the shoulders of the homeowner. But many of us build our homes and we never ever go back. 20 years past, 30 years past, the wiring in our home has degraded over time. And that has a very, very, very disastrous effect.
How can we fireproof our homes? You're talking about a family in a home. How do we begin to educate our children? What should we have in place? How can we fireproof our home?
Right, so starting off, we want to eliminate materials in our building or construction. You can actually eliminate fires from your home, in the sense that you can eliminate the effects of fires by using building materials that are non-combustible. So simple fix could be, if you currently have a wooden roof, it's over 20 years old, 30 years old, the possibility is that you may want to seek to change that roof out at some point in time and use a metal roof, meaning the members, the structural members is steel, and you may also want to use a gypsum ceiling instead of a PVC or wooden ceiling. Now, that is not to negate the fact that persons may use wooden members for decorative purposes, because it's very beautiful. So for persons who still utilize the wood, I'm saying you must have smoke detection in your home, and you must have a fire extinguisher within your home as well. And I can make recommendations right now for members of the public who want to know, where should you locate these smoke detectors? Where should I, and what type of fire extinguisher I should have for my home?
Okay, and just by putting these gadgets in place, we're off to a very good start.
Definitely, because what the real killer here when you have a fire is the fact that you cannot detect it. And if you cannot if you have early detection, it means that you can mitigate. It means that you can take evasive measures, you can evacuate, or you can fight the fire using an extinguisher. And so to do so, you would want to have a smoke detector. You could simply use a battery-operated smoke detector. It's very inexpensive, and it can be located in each bedroom where persons sleep, because the sleeping risk is what is most difficult in a time of a fire. Imagine a fire takes place at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you cannot awaken out of sleep. sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes pass, the fire has already grown and you have a smoke-filled room, and we cannot breathe hot air and gases. And smoke inhalation is the real killer in a fire. So early warning devices such as smoke detectors allow us to respond very quickly and very effectively.
Okay. Thank you so much. When we were growing up, my dad had a sign placed. He was into signs, and he had a sign placed at the door just as we were exiting the door. So the last person, in fact, as we were leaving the door, we would always check that sign, and that sign ensure that the lights are off, ensure that the heater is unplugged, ensure that. And we checked, we just ran through the list very quickly. So as we're coming up, we said, is the gas off? Are the lights off? Is the this off? Is the that off? And really that helped to put us into a gear of when we're leaving home to ensure that certain things were switched off, unplugged, or turned off.
That is an excellent, excellent way of preparing yourself or for protecting your homes, because a lot of us, as you rightfully said, would leave items on sometimes when we leave in a hurry. And those are the challenges that we face.
Yes, thank you so much. And who can persons give us the number again for if there's an emergency and they need to contact the fire service department throughout Tobago and Trinidad, what is the number to call?
The number for the fire service in Trinidad and Tobago is 990. 990 is your lifeline. Remember, once you call that number, you want to give them that pertinent information that's going to allow you to get the fire service to respond as quickly as possible to your emergency. Please give them landmarks, your name, a cell phone contact number so they can call you back, and make sure that they stay in contact with you and guide you through the process. And as you know, the fire service, once with our resources, we will do our best. We will do our utmost best to get to your call and respond effectively.
Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning, Officer Rogers. Always a pleasure to have you on the program with us. I know that you're wishing right now that you were in Tobago. We know that for certain. You're always wishing that you're in Tobago. Thank you again. Thank you again for being on the program with us. Well, viewers, we're going to leave it there. We want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. We want to thank all our guests who were on the program and all our comments on the live. We thank you so much for the comments. But TV world is very different, very, very different. And there are things that happen in the background that we cannot always explain. We may not always understand, but it is the working of a TV world, I'll have to say. But we want to thank all of you and your comments this morning. We're heading over into Tobago Notes, even as we go over to GMT. Again, thank you for joining us. Julian is going to be back with us tomorrow. So have a great day, Tobago. Tobago Notes, and then GMT with Candace. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
After over 6 decades of existence, the TWCU Credit Union has opened a branch in the sister isle Tobago. It was long in coming, but it has finally reached. This credit union was formed to accommodate and facilitate low-income families who needed a means of saving. Now, TWCU is expanding into Tobago. This milestone is being celebrated for bringing a 27th credit union to the island.
The establishment of this member-owned cooperative institution provided an opportunity for low-income members to save and obtain credit to meet their needs in an era when they were unable to have easy access to banks to meet financial needs.
For some time, due to the increase in membership and growth in status, there have been several requests from members. It is our hope that this new facility will serve as a catalyst to attract new members, particularly youth members. By the same token, it is an opportunity for members to invite relatives and friends to become members of the society. In addition, now is the time for inactive members to revive their membership status to be fully active.
Today, the fact that we are here within the first quarter of 2023 to open this branch is a very positive sign for the economy of Tobago at large. Tobago in and of itself has had a very long and beautiful and successful story with the credit union movement. Congratulations on this milestone. Congratulations on having this office as a forerunner to celebrating your 73rd year in business. That's quite a lot of years.
The TWCU Credit Union is located on the second floor in the Port Mall in Scarborough.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and...
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. For the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Kiesel Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. The Cabo Star is expected to go on its scheduled dry docking from June 5th to the 16th. According to the Inter-Island Transportation Company Limited, this dry docking is necessary for the vessel's maintenance. During those 2 weeks, vehicles up to 7,000 kilograms will be accommodated on the Booker Reef and the APT James. Overloaded vehicles and others with extensions will not be allowed on board. Due to space limitations, no cargo will be stored at the port and flatbed operations will stop during the period. Additionally, dangerous cargo will not be accommodated on either the APT James or the Booker Reef. And now the president of the Tobago Fisherfolk Association, Curtis Douglas, called on Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and THA Chief Secretary to intervene in the flying fish concerns between Barbados and Tobago. Last week, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, said a meeting is soon to be arranged between fisheries departments of both countries. Douglas, however, wanted to know when and where the meeting would be held, as well as if the fishermen would be present. He said they wanted the chance to explain their concerns and propose solutions for an amicable resolution. And nationally, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said he will not be meeting with the political leader of the National Transformation Alliance and former Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. On Sunday, Griffith called for a meeting with the Prime Minister and opposition leader to propose plans to address crime. In response to a question in the House, Dr. Rowley claimed he had no desire to meet with Griffith under any circumstances. Meanwhile, the opposition was accused of obstructing all government efforts to combat crime. Rowley added that he already has experts on which he relies on for assistance with the crime situation. And that was the news in 90 seconds. And viewers, yes, it's such a pleasure to be with you on this very rainy Thursday morning. So I hope you all are keeping dry and keeping safe, especially on those roads. Just be aware of each other and be aware, mindful of your speeds and so on. And, just take your time. If you got to be somewhere, leave a little bit early, just expect a little bit of delays. All right, so viewers, to the note to our conversation for today, we will be speaking by the former Chief Secretary, Mr. Hochoy Charles. Good morning and welcome to you. And he likes to say the first Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Yes, several others after me. So when you say former, and there was a Charles also that followed me. So when you say former, they don't know who you're referring to. The first.
The first Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Hochoy Charles. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm excellent as usual and peaceful by the grace of Almighty God.
All right. So, you might be at peace, but it seems as though our political situation is not quite at peace because we see that there is, a little bit of back and forth between our Chief Secretary, Mr. Fali Augustine, and Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. Now, I know you would have heard some of the things that Dr. Rowley said in terms of, the need for an election right now as a result for this new political party being formed. So, Mr. Charles, can I get your opinions on this? You know, how do you feel about the statements uttered by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley in that call for an election?
Context is what shapes meaning. Context is what shapes meaning. And when I heard the statement, I was a little upset. The response, because I noticed all the media houses have been saying that the Chief Secretary would have asked the Prime Minister to mind your own damn business.
Yes.
And I thought it was a little inappropriate, but I don't respond, as you would know very well, over my 40-something years, that I don't react or respond to anything that I hear in the media at all, except I see it and have evidence of it. So I would have got the newspaper because I noticed there was a headline mentioned in one of the newspapers on a TV station. When I looked at it and I recognized that we are very bad in this country, in the media too, you know, the media. And I recognize that the Chief Secretary did not say what I'm hearing people say he said. Because you all take it out of context. What the Chief Secretary did was to play back a clip from a meeting that the Prime Minister said he not interfering with Tobago people business. And that was in 2021, during the campaign period in 2021. I played it over a couple times. That he played back that clip. I read the story when I said, oh my God. That he played back the clip and with the Prime Minister saying that the only place in the country where he as Prime Minister don't have any control, the executives are executive running Tobago and he not interfere with their business, he's staying out of the business. And all the Chief Secretary did was to say, well, mind your business then. He used the word damn. And I think he should not have even put that inside it. Had he not put the word damn inside of it, a small issue. Had he not put the word damn in it, all he was saying, Prime Minister, you say you're not interfering with business. Well, go on, mind yours. I am minding my business, so you mind yours. When I saw it, I said, oh, you mean this is what the media making all this damage about? As though the Chief Secretary called the Prime Minister from where he is and tell him, mind your own damn business. That's not what happened. We have to be truthful.
Well, in the context of, what was initially said by the Prime Minister, does the Prime Minister have any grounds, or is he correct?
Are we coming? Yeah.
Yes. Is he correct about, there being grounds for the election to be called as a result of this new party being formed by those holding executive council positions?
There is no ground. The Prime Minister is making a case because if you notice what's happening in Tobago, and we'll come to the specifics, I'm sure. In Trinidad, the opposition party in Trinidad believes that there's a lot of grounds for the Prime Minister to call an election in Trinidad. Not local, general election. Crime, this, that, the other. You're hearing them, right? So they see an opportunity, the opposition party, for them to maybe win the election and get into government to be in control. So they are calling for election. In Tobago, because of what happened with the PDP and what happened with this new party, the PNM is the opposition in Tobago in the House of Assembly. And all I am seeing is that they would have seen an opportunity to say, this is a good time and an opportunity for us as opposition to really get an election called so that we believe we will be able to be successful. But tell me something. Is an election in Trinidad in the best interest of the population of Trinidad and Tobago? Obviously not. Is an election in Tobago right now in our context and where we are in the best interest of Tobago? No. It is self-serving. Prime Minister's interest is self-serving. He's talking about his party. And we're going to deal with the details in a minute. So the Prime Minister can call. Just remember, he's the political leader of a party.
Is it allowed for this situation to happen where, you had a group of people voted into office under the banner of one political party and now switching their allegiances and, forming their own political party? Is that allowed within the construct of the THA?
But I'm just telling you, the Tobago House of Assembly Act, if you notice, I work with one document.
Yes, just the act.
And I wanted to start by saying, Candice, this Tobago House of Assembly Act is 27 years old. And you know, we don't know it.
And that's why I want you to speak to it from the act.
We must spend our time to educate the population on it. We don't know it. Not even the people who run in the THA know the act. Not even Mr. London and his team know the Tobago House of Assembly Act. There are people in government and in the parliament that don't know the THA Act. Let me just tell you why it's so difficult. People who are the framers of it and were involved, and there were only two, I believe, that remain. Mr. Robinson died, I remain. This is not what went to parliament, you know. You remember Mr. London and the PNM was saying, even during the election campaign before he got in 2001, that this document is fatally flawed. Not only flawed, you know, but fatally flawed. We still have it, you know. They didn't understand it. This is not what went to parliament. What went to parliament was for us to have our internal self-government. And it's a completely different document. But because of the fact that the opposition, it requires a 3/4 majority in vote in the House of Representatives and a 2/3 of the Senate. And because the party that carried it, then UNCNAR, they did not have the majority. They have to tweak this, they have to revise it, they have to modify it. So what we have here...
And then, I mean, just before you go there, the people that were in the opposition at a point in time involved... Dr. Raleigh was one of those persons. And Mr. London was another one of those persons.
No, I'm saying to you, especially the people who are antagonistic to what we carry, why they did not give the support to the government at that time to pass the bill, are the people who are in government today. And I want to say that Mr. Manning, he died. Dr. Rowley, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, and the present Minister of Finance, they were the real opposition to what we carry to parliament. They are the government. And this is why the THA, need to chat with us who understand it. They don't understand this at all. And I want to say that openly. They don't understand it. A lot of you don't understand it. So the document had to be tweaked and had to be prepared in a particular way, revised, modified, and so on, in order to allow it to be passed, so that we would have been making a step away from Act number 37 of 1980, which was the first act. So very few people understand this. The present people don't understand it. You have 21 years of PNM administration in Tobago. Don't understand the Tobago House of Assembly Act. He might listen to Raguna talking to you. Very good. But there are some things they don't understand. And we must spend some time to clear up that why this was put inside there, why this is so, why Mr. London and the PNM said this was fatally flawed, they will have it changed. They can't change this. And I will tell you. So an election should be held. And we will come to that. You asked me the question about election. Yes. Very important. There is nothing, the Tobago House of Assembly Act does not recognize political parties.
I think you need to repeat that.
I have done that here before.
Yes.
And I ask you and others, please go, because I was minority leader when Mr. London took over from us. I was chief secretary and become minority leader. Mr. Robinson was the president of this country. And he came to inaugurate that assembly where Mr. London became chief secretary. And you must get a copy of that speech. I think I circulated a lot of copies of it and so on. When he inaugurated that assembly. And he said something that is very crucial. That this institution, this representative institution, is the only one of its kind like this in the modern world.
And it's also different from the Parliament's constitution.
This is the point I'm making. If it's different, it must be different from the Parliament. It is unique. There's nothing like this. In every other jurisdiction and every other, whether it's in the Commonwealth or otherwise, what you find is the political party that wins an election for all the parliaments in most of the Caribbean and the Commonwealth. When you win an election, the leader of that party, once he contests that election and he wins, his party wins that election and he goes to the House of Representatives, that particular person is called upon to what? To become the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So before the Parliament convenes after a general election, the Prime Minister is known. In Tobago's case, is everybody, whether you have 6-party, 3-party, because party normally is the vehicle you use to contest an election. So that is why party is important, because you'll mobilize resources, you'll get funding, you'll get that. But there's no need, they could be all independent. Because when they go to the house, they are everybody. You don't have to belong to the person's party. Every one of the elected people are looked at as individuals and independent representatives of the people. All of them vote for the chief executive, nowhere else in the world, and the deputy. We don't recognize that.
Now, Mr. Charles, there are some people that, are having a little issue with this in terms of, because Mr. Augustine and the team are not under the PDP anymore. And of course, they would have presented a certain mandate on the campaign trail, made some promises. So they're saying, okay, well, there's no way to hold you to account for those.
That's not matter for the people of Tobago. Nobody else. The people of Tobago must decide that. As you know, they voted for a team of people. And as usually, they would have voted for a party, that the vehicle that they went up with and so on. But when you get into the house, you don't recognize political party. The population we voted did not understand that. Only we alone were teaching that. Say, hey, they only recognize individuals when you get inside there, And all these individuals will vote for the chief executive of Tobago and so on. But I am hearing you, there's another narrative that we have to change. And another thing that I'm saying, context is the thing that shapes meaning. It was not those individuals who resigned. The context is wrong. Mr. Duke, after the incident, you remember they misadvised him that I did a program that same day down here.
Yes, he did.
They advised him that Section 49, subsection 2E of the Constitution applied nationally because it is the supreme law in the country. That if you contest an election on a party's ticket and you get into the House of Representatives and the party fire you or you resign from that party, your seat becomes vacant. And within 3 months, it happened to Jack Warner in Chaguana. So you remember that?
Yes.
That does not apply to the THA. And they advised Mr. Duke that was so until they recognize that it doesn't apply to us. That's why Mr. Duke had to resign. So what Mr. Duke did is to take his party and go. We all sat here, you all are in the media. The whole country here say, I am going on the other side, but I'm not going to be part of Mr. Morris, which is PNM. He said, so I'm listening to the house. We're not truthful, We're really not truthful. We are deceptive set of people, including the media. We must be truthful and honest. And said, I take my symbol, you remember I said, I form my party under a street light, me, my brother, and my dog. You remember that? I am not skylarking, this is not joking matter, I form a party, so I take my party and go. I own this symbol. So he's PDP on that side, you don't know what they are. He fired them. Of course, you fire them, they have to operate, because the executive operates and not recognizing party, they continue. So the same mandate, they are the same one who went out and campaigned. People voted for them as individual and so on. Now the THA Act is quite different from all the others that you talk about, So they are in the house and they have been carrying out the mandate. All I'm saying is that it was premature for them to start the party now. And I don't want to say more on that. If I properly advise them that it's a bad thing to start a party now. Since the THA Act does not recognize political parties, they should have been there running and fixing all contractors' payment, fix up the roads, the education system, the fisheries things that I hear the fellas, because they're responsibility. Fix all of those, let the people and get towards you all. And then everybody going to say, that group of people is a good group of people. Then you have people on your side, form your political party. It is premature. Premature and create all of this problem. There was no need to do that. Fix up the people's business first. Fix the potholes on the road. Fix up all of this, the health services. Fix all of that. As the executive, let people see you and see that you are performing. Then you form your political party, because you need to have a vehicle, because you can't go up as PDP again. You remember we said you carry away symbol with him, So a political party, obviously, would have been in the making. But the timing of it, that is bad. But anyhow, let me leave that for the time being and come back to this one and say, So when Dr. Rowley called for the election, he was very deceptive too, as you know. Deception. He's looking because he's the political leader, and you all must not make this mistake. Dr. Rowley is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, but he's the political leader of the party that is in opposition in Tobago, House of Assembly. Understand that? So he's wearing two hats. So when you talk the Prime Minister, he didn't make that as Prime Minister. Part of the address is like Prime Minister. When you talk about we're going to see, he's the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and the only executive, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And that if you don't form a political party, like a subtle threat or something like that, that will determine how we treat with you and so on. There's a dangerous threat. Because Dr. Rowley have to understand, and all of us have to understand, that Dr. Rowley can't do what he wants to do. None of us in the country. We have to abide by the law. Law is the tool for functioning, for carrying out government policy and so on. And that is why his statement that he made in 2021, the one that Fali responded to, he did say, the law, and he was talking the truth. You remember, and you play the clip?
Yes.
The law prevents me, keeps me out of Tobago business. And it's true, the law keeps him out, and we can go to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the THA. The law keeps him out of the executive of Tobago.
How do you address, a sort of hypocrisy in a way? Because he did say that last year, and then back in, let's say, 2012, 2011.
He was talking the truth then because his party was in office, right? So he was telling the country the truth, you remember?
Yes, because it was interesting because there was just Mr. London at that point in time telling Ms. Prasad Bissessel at almost every opportunity he had that, complaining about the disrespect and complaining about encroachments. I mean, I think that was the time where we all learned the meaning of the word encroachment and so on.
Candice, you remember at that time, I was part of what we call the forum of working on the constitutional document that before Parliament with London and all of them. And I want to say that, that when I saw what Kamlan they were doing to him, I just came in because they were inside there from 2001. This was 2013 when they won all 12 seats. Remember, 2013, and Mr. London called me in that same January month. And then you're not going to go through the details now. That is how the forum was formed. Mm-hmm. And one day we're going to explain all that, how the forum was formed. I did that, how the forum was formed. And when I recognized, you remember the PP government even set up a URP in Tobago, set up so many things. Even Vonella was minister, they started to have problem with pilgrim in health to take over the health. I had a media conference that I called on my own to say, hey, law is the tool for the implementation of public policy. We don't pass laws in Tobago. The laws are passed in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. This law, and I took the THA Act, this law was passed in the National Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. They passed this law. And this law says in Section 25 and the 5th schedule that health is the responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly. And then I asked the question, could anybody tell me what law or who authorized the Minister for Tobago to be interfering with health, which is the hospital? You remember that?
Yes.
And so on. Then I call upon the Prime Minister and the President of the country that you all can be lawmakers and lawbreakers. That break in the kind of story. That another intervention is the office that they set up there. All that was dismantled. Because they're breaking the law. Not because you name Prime Minister, you can do what you want, you have to act within the confines of the law. So law is the tool. If there's no law, you can't carry out public policy. There must be a law. And this is why the Prime Minister was so right. The Prime Minister was right because you're speaking the truth at that time when he says, the law keeps me out of Tobago. Because all the 5th schedule item, no government. I've seen a breach of that. A lot of.
And we're going to get into some of that conversations in a little bit, but first we've got to take a little break. And when we come back, we would expand a little bit on some of the things that the THA Act speaks to, and why
including the elections that they are calling for.
Including the elections that they are calling for.
Because that is the national issue now in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me tell you how that should happen.
All right, right after the break.
We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one.
Help! Fire service!
Hello, fire service. Anybody in here? Fire service. Yeah, we're right there. We gotta get out. We're right there. Okay, take him. Let's go.
Thank you for saving me. You're my hero.
Together, as we face the challenges during the new normal, always remember that fire safety begins with you.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Sign up, save, and win every day with Digicel Plus. You could win a tablet or a TV every single day. Just sign up for Digicel Plus and like yourself. Visit digiceltt.com or a Digicel store to sign up now. Promotion ends May 19th and is approved by the NLCB.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denasia.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Well, viewers, we have on set with us the first Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Hochoy Charles, and he's going to be with us for the whole entire hour for this morning. And we are discussing some of the things that are within the public space, especially what's been going on between, the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary, call for elections, and all those things. Now, before we went to break, we just sort of went into the THA Act a little bit to sort of re-educate or re-explain, you know, the fact that the THA Act does not recognize parties. And now, Mr. Charles, I want you to explain, you know, from the Act itself, what are the rules for calling an election?
It's there, and they would have changed it last year with the 46.6. And I hope that we deal with election calling before we close this program.
Yes.
And say we should have an election in June and tell you how it should be done. It's crucial to Tobago and Trinidad. The rules are there in Section 22, and it says that the Assembly can, when you are elected, you have a period of 4 years, and you can go for your 4 years term, and at the end of that 4-year term, the House stand dissolved. It dissolves itself automatically. But the Assembly itself can, before that date, based on the circumstances, decide that they are going to move a motion in the House to dissolve the House before. And once the House is dissolved, by the fractional time that they would have served out their time, or by a motion to do it before that date, once there's a dissolution, by whatever means, the two means I mentioned to you, that an election in the THA will be held, cannot be held earlier than 2 months after that date of dissolution, nor later than 3 months after that date of dissolution. The amendment they made on the last occasion after 6.6, and that's why we should spend some time with that dangerous thing that was done.
Okay.
To have an election, 2 elections in 1 year, January 2021 and December 2021, with 6.6 and then with 14.1. That's so crucial to call in an election now. So we're going to do that. They would have changed that now to allow that if you have an election and you could not determine presiding officer, chief secretary, and so on, so the House can function, that the chief secretary himself can, within 14 days,
dissolve the House.
Let the House dissolve, and then the same 2 months and 3 months will kick in. No earlier than, so even though he did that, you can't have the election earlier than 2 months after that date, nor later than 3 months. So the Act is very clear, the THA Act is very clear on that. This is why we didn't want anybody to hold nothing. And the document we sent on in Trinidad, just a matter of one word, in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 18, the one that is before Parliament, well, they make a lot of changes on that. We would have said that nobody must not spring an election on a population. It's the most important period in a country's life, and that the date, like in America, you know, for election done today, you know the next date of the next election. We put into the law, and I hope that that is going to be so with the final document when it comes out, that we must know election is today. If it's 4-year term, we said it should be whatever, the last Monday of that particular time. So it belongs to the last Monday of that month should be the election date. So we know the election. So nobody can dissolve votes and have things in their pocket and
why is it dangerous for us to, you know, for elections to happen at any time? Why is it dangerous, like you said, that, you know, like let's say that they call another election now after what we went through in 2021?
No, I'm just saying to you that we don't respect the population. Nobody has any power over the population, you know, over the country. The population, the voters of a country, are the owners of the country. And that is why we don't educate our population to know how powerful they are. They are the ones who determine what happens, you know. That is why politicians, in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, the national, every 5 years, they go back to beg them. And the population don't recognize. Kamala was in office last week. We took her out and put Dr. Rowley. So-and-so was in, is we who have the power. But they don't want the population to is only we alone teach that. Say, hey, you are the one that had the power, you know. Those people are your board of directors, you vote them in there, you know. And you are the ones that will remove them from there. They have no power. That's why after the period, they have to come back to you to ask you, could you please give me some power for the 5 years I may run this place? But you operate as though you are the big FSCV. You're in charge of them. And that is this thing that we are trying to make a democracy in Tobago and in Trinidad. We're not living in a democracy, you know. I think I mentioned that we live in a prime ministerial dictatorship. And I told the Prime Minister that when we met down there after 6-6, you know, but we're going to spend some time on that. So it is so dangerous for anybody to hold an election date, knowing that election is a period where the people of the country will determine who they will want to govern their business for the next 5 years. You can't spring it on them. All the parties are given an opportunity to go outside, to sell their wares, to explain why I am the best for you to choose to put there to run my business. But you spring an election, nobody at any time is all kind of music, chalk and flags and everything like that. You don't have the message. It's a dangerous situation like that. So from an election is run, that's why America is so different. When an election is run, we, the country, the people of the country must know, let us prepare, let us look at the performance of both up in Trinidad and Tobago, government, opposition, all the others who are coming to ask us to give them a chance to run the country. We have a chance to look at them for 4 years or 5 years, as the case may be. So when the time comes, it's not just bringing up a manifesto today, and then you say, the one that could talk good, and the one that sound good. And I said to you on this program already, Candice, and on several others, winning an election is one thing. Knowing what to do with it is quite a different thing. You have that experience? And then I also said this finally, and then you ask me the question. I also said it at the same time with that same statement. Winning an election does not make you a leader. What it does, it exposes your lack of leadership. Because people hear you talking and they say, I want to sound good. It's like he's a good person. The people now don't know anything about you because I have no experience, you never run anything. And then they vote you into office because you were singing good. You're talking nice, I will do this. Just like what we're experiencing in Tobago right now. And they vote you into office. And when you go into office, you know what to perform. People say, but what difference is this? That person know one God in everything, they're ignorant as bad. So this is the point. That doesn't make you that. That is why your program is so important. You call it manifesto, your program and your policy is so important. When you go into the population, and the people must not vote for anything else but that program. So even if you don't like the jersey that I wear, you don't like the clothes I wear, you don't even like how I speak, but I am seeing a program that said, this is going to take me out of where I am and put me where I want to be. That's the party I'm going to vote for, whether I like the person or not, because that is what they're going to be doing. We must vote for program and policies, not individuals that I like.
Now, Mr. Charles, you said something just a little bit ago about understanding the power. Now, elections is one part of governance, but being able to exercise that power is another. Now, the THA Act, as you know, incomplete as it is in a lot of ways, there still is some power that is embedded within the THA Act.
Let me just say that I don't want to stop you on this one. Plenty power.
One of those powers is that over licensing, and that has been something that's come to the fore in just the last few weeks. So I want you to speak to that.
Let me start off by saying, this Tobago House of Assembly, I tell you what went to the Parliament was for international government. And you know what that meant? That Tobago would have been able to have its legislature and its executive, just like in Trinidad, but we still one nation, one prime minister, one president. And the Tobago House of Assembly, that's why Section 25 is written the way it is written. What went to the Parliament did not have in this formula of words, without prejudice to Section 75, one of the Constitution. That was not in the original document. Because it started here. The Assembly shall, in relation to Tobago, be responsible for the formulation and implementation of policy in respect of the matters in the 5th schedule. Full stop. That is what went. But remember, Section 75 of the Constitution says that the Cabinet is the one who will make the policy for Trinidad and Tobago. So it means then, in order not to write 75 here, the opposition in Parliament have to support what we went with and that would have amended the constitution to take away that cabinet responsibility from Tobago, and Tobago would have had that, so we didn't have this problem with no cabinet nonsense. But since you didn't have the majority to pass this, because the people who are in government now were opposition that oppose it, this formula of words were written into it without prejudice to section 75(1) of the constitution. A lot of people, including Orville from 2001 to 2013, were of the view that without prejudice to section 75(1) mean, a lot of people up to today, even the government of Trinidad and a community licensing, of the view that it means subject to section 75(1). And I have to say to people, I was a parliamentarian, I was a lawmaker in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, and I said, listen to me, when Parliament use a word, Parliament means something by that word, it can't mean something else. If Parliament meant subject to 75(1), Parliament would have written that, not so?
Yes.
But it didn't say so. If Parliament meant notwithstanding section 75(1), meaning you will ignore the cabinet, but you have to have a majority to pass that. Parliament would have written notwithstanding, but it didn't write that. It said without prejudice. What is meant by that? Without prejudice to section 75(1) of the Constitution, because 75(1) said that the cabinet will make the overall policy for Trinidad and Tobago. But the Assembly in that context is responsible for making policy in Tobago. Formulation means that. Make a policy and implement it. What is meant, how is it going to work? And I want to teach people how it works.
So how does licensing, because licensing is under the 5th schedule, but how does licensing work under that construct?
Yeah.
How does that work for Tobago? How is it supposed to work for Tobago? Because we know that, as well as things like town and country and a whole list of things are not working.
Oh no. What does this say? Assembly. This is what it's meaning now. Assembly. You go ahead, make your policy, and implement them on all these matters in the 5th schedule. But remember this, the Constitution ain't amended yet, you know. But you cannot make a policy and implement it that will affect Trinidad, because this is strictly Tobago. Follow me well. But if you make a policy and implement it that will affect Trinidad, the cabinet can intervene and override it. But don't wait on them because you're not subject to them. Make it and implement it.
So what about what happened over the last couple of weeks?
That's what I went there to come to explain that to you. And then don't jump the gun. You will get it and the population will have it. So that is what it means. But the matters in the 5th schedule contains one of the issues that took place last week, which was licensing. So what we should do, make your policy on licensing, right? And implement your policy. But for Tobago, because licensing is item what? Item 22 of the 5th schedule. So the Assembly law, as it stands, says you must make your policy with regards to that and implement them in Tobago. But remember, you can't trouble Trinidad, you can't affect Trinidad like that. That is what it means. And I dare say, this division, the licensing division in Tobago, is a division of the Tobago House of Assembly under the 5th schedule.
And where does
let me just finish this one. Under the 5th schedule, let me say this, because somebody in the media called me sometime and they say, we didn't know that from Trinidad. I said, you didn't know that? I said, all the staff, the establishment of the division of licensing in Tobago is on the establishment of the Tobago House of Assembly. The salaries of all the licensing officers in Tobago are paid by the Tobago House of Assembly. They are the staff of the Assembly. You didn't know that? That is so. So section 25, 26, and 27 of this law says this. And let me wrap on this. That says this. And this is why people say they don't understand this. Look at what 27 says. So if you didn't understand, section 27 says, where the services and all the services, the 5th schedule, are services of the Tobago Assembly, where the services fall within the responsibility of the Assembly pursuant to 25(1, or where the Assembly acts as agent of the government, I will tell you how that's going to happen, statutory authority or state enterprise pursuant to 26(2, the services shall be administered by the Assembly. So there are all the public administrative issues in Tobago didn't fall under the 5th schedule. So we have a 6th schedule here that says these matters are for the central government, not for you to run them. But the central government can look at them and say, hey, we shouldn't be setting up an administration in Tobago to run these little issues here. We can give you as an agent to run. If they do that, they can't come in Tobago and implement them. That's what Section 27 says.
Not like what happened last week.
What happened last week is a breach of the law. The license, we are Trinidad and Tobago. But we are customs and excise. Customs and excise, you know, in Tobago. We are one controller customs, you know. Do you know the customs officers are under the THA too? We've never had that kind of problem.
And we'll get a little bit more into that, but we just have to take a quick break now. So viewers, please don't go anywhere because I know this is a discussion and you want to hear a bit more. So pay attention after the break.
To a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor.
How it's gonna go. They better look up and look, cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna. Better look up below, cause this is your show.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Yes, viewers, we are continuing our discussion with the first Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Hochoy Charles. And before we went into the break, we were discussing, you know, what the THA Act says in relation to things such as the licensing division. And now, Mr. Charles, would you say that what happened over the past couple of weeks, where licensing officers were sent to Tobago, and then you had the Minister of Transport, Works and Transport, saying, you know, he has that power to exercise. Would you say that that was illegal?
I am saying again, when I read the Tobago Assembly Act, Section 25, 26, and 27, I'm sure that you recognize that the action was, I'm not saying improper, but I'm saying illegal. Because it says here that once it's a fifth schedule item, nobody else, not the central government, can come to Tobago and implement it. It is for the THA to implement. So for Mr. Sinanan and the licensing people from Trinidad, and I want to say this so people don't misunderstand you. We are one transport commissioner for Trinidad and Tobago, you know. Mr. Clive, whatever is his name now, is the transport commissioner. But the point is, licensing in Tobago is under the THA. We work together. The staff of customs and excise is under the THA too, you know. But you know, we have one controller of customs. We met, we work out how it is going to be arranged. This is why you used to have a lot of go-go brooms and the Phillips people and so on. We used to be customs people in Tobago. The inland revenue staff most time in Tobago is under the THA, you know. We don't have that kind of problem. So if Mr. Sinanan want to play politics and have the transport commission is the transport commissioner for Trinidad and Tobago. But to come to Tobago to implement something that the minister tell you is illegal. Not improper, you know. It's illegal. we sit down and work together. For that matter, you may even need more help. For example, like, they come from Trinidad, they make the arrangement in Tobago and say, okay, fine, licensing going to come up. Come up and help with the education program. Come and do that because we are the one people. But you can't come to implement the function under the 5th schedule. That is contrary to the law, to section 25. And let me say this. I hear them always, even the Prime Minister's message. Keep talking about constitution. Candice, let me take me time to say this. It is not the Tobago House of Assembly Act that creates the Tobago House of Assembly. Let me repeat that. It is not the Tobago, which is because the Constitution is the supreme law of the country, right? And if you pass a law that goes contrary to anything in this Constitution, that law is null and void to that extent of the inconsistency. So it is not the Tobago House of Assembly Act that created the THA. It is the Constitution, section 141 of the Constitution created the Tobago House of Assembly and said that the things that they're going to be responsible for are going to be prescribed. And it is prescribed in the Tobago House of Assembly Act. And the Constitution creates the Executive Council. It creates all of this and said, hey, you see the matter in the 5th schedule here? That's the Assembly to implement in Tobago. Nobody else can implement them.
I think that that's another part of it that's very key, that the law does speak to the THA being able to implement. So there would be the same law that governs all of Trinidad and Tobago, but it is for the THA to implement.
That is what it says. That is what this... Candice, section 74 of the Constitution, section 75 of the Constitution about Minister and Cabinet, derive its authority from section 74 of the Constitution. Let me take your time on that. Section 74 of the Constitution says this: executive powers. The executive authority of Trinidad and Tobago shall be vested in the President and subject to the Constitution, subject to it, may be exercised by him either directly or through officers subordinate to him. Let's forget subsection 2 and go down to 3D. Notwithstanding this section, nothing in this section shall prevent Parliament from, listen to this, from conferring functions on persons or authorities other than the President.
And that would be the basis for the illegal claim.
I come into that. If you notice, the THA Act 25 says something, and section 27 says something, services. He didn't say policy. Because cabinet is still responsible for policy for Trinidad and Tobago. Yes. But section 25 says, hey, Assembly, don't wait for them. You make anything for Tobago, you go ahead. But tell me something. So what the Tobago House of Assembly Act that was passed by the Parliament would have done is, under section 24(3), is to take away functions from the President. Because you know how that was subject to the Constitution. Because all the executive authority in Trinidad and Tobago is vested in the President. And that is why it says subject to the Constitution. President can do all or give it to officers subordinate. And that is how the Prime Minister is the one who will tell the President, appoint Candice Minister of Works, appoint one the Minister of Agriculture. He can't wait, President cannot refuse, based on Section 80. President cannot refuse. So if the Prime Minister will tell the President, appoint so-and-so, give them that particular function, because the function is the President own, based on Section 74. You realize that?
Yes.
So then the President now will now prepare the document and say, well, we give you agriculture. And when the Prime Minister wants to remove anybody, he will now write the President and say, revoke the appointment of so-and-so, and give that function to the next person. What this section says, although all the executive authority is in the President, and that can happen, nothing in that section that prevents the Parliament, listen to what I'm saying, from conferring functions on individuals or on authorities other than the President. So the Tobago House of Assembly Act 1996 would have taken away the 5th schedule functions from the President and hand them to a THA. This is why when I hear senior councils and a lot of people were saying, the Tobago House of Assembly Act didn't amend the Roads Act, it didn't amend that. I say, you think the people who passes this joke? They joke or what? This act take away the function And what is the tool for implementing the function? So now you are responsible for licensing, you're responsible for town country planning. What law are you? Because there must be a law, which is the tool for you to carry out. You take the same act that talk about town country, and you are the secretary, you implement. Is that you authorize those things and sign them, they went to court. Somebody was building on there as secretary for planning. We don't know the law. Parliament by the THA Act take away the function from the president of the 5th schedule item for Tobago and hand them to the THA. No minister can come to Tobago. So the prime minister in his statement say, the law, keep me out. They are the executive and so on. He was right. They know, but they know that these people are inexperienced. So they do everything on them.
And they also perhaps know that, I mean, some of our population is not very educated where the law is concerned.
That's right. The function is not the minister function. So where is the tool for the assembly to carry out the function? You just take up what the law says and just implement it. And that is why Section 25 says this. Section 29 of the THA Act says this. Let's assume that the assembly is we have to formulate and implement policy on all the 5th schedule items. Let's assume that one of those items doesn't have any law that exists. For example, we want to protect Buku Reef or protect the sane fishing ground in Tobago from yattis going there and preventing fishermen. There may not be any law to deal with that. The assembly looked at it because Tobago, and they say, you know, there is no law. This says in Section 29, there is no law, so you have to have a law so that you could be able to implement it. So this is where you need to do the population, need to know this, the penalty for this and so on. This is why they have this cumbersome section in 29 that says, in the exercise of its powers under this act, the assembly may propose and adopt bills in relation to matters for which it is responsible under the 5th schedule. And you have to go down to parliament, to the cabinet will take it to parliament and so on. Because we could not amend the constitution to take it away. And that is where this new thing is all about. So it means then that if there's no law, if there's a law, the assembly secretary take that law, and that is the tool for him to carry out the 5th schedule function in Tobago, because they take it away from the president. No minister can come here and do it in Tobago. And then if there is no law on a decision that you're making in Tobago, you will now have to propose the bill under Section 29 and send it down to the cabinet. The cabinet will carry it to parliament and have it passed, and then it becomes a assembly law.
Yes.
You see how it works?
Yes.
We don't know the THA. And that is why we're blundering and allowing people to come up here to run tongue and country, to run all. We don't know the law. Dr. Wally and all them know that. Try to do it. All of them know, you know. And they have been trying their best. I see Minister Gonzalez, all of them coming here to do things like public utilities and so. You know that contrary to the law? I just read it up for you, Section 27. Once the services is a 5th schedule item, once it is a 5th schedule item, it means then that no government minister can come here and do it. You remember Mr. Pandy?
Yes.
Mr. Pandy came here paving the road in Tobago, and all of them were vexed and didn't understand the law. Or they didn't understand nothing, and all you think that Hochoy crazy. The man paving the road, we want the road them paved. But you didn't understand the trick, and you did not understand the implication of that. What they were doing, and what is the danger about that. If you allow, because just remember the antecedent of this legislation. Tobago was in the backwoods. Nothing was functioning. And the people at Tobago articulate and agitate. And the country agree, hey, they're right. We're now not going to allow ministers in Trinidad to go and do these things in Tobago. We're going to set up an institution in Tobago and give them the power to do these things. Right? That is how this thing started. That was done. And now we are performing those functions. If we did not perform a function under the 5th schedule, and this is why I'm trying to advise these chaps here, they don't understand nothing, you know. I'm saying that very...
And then also what's interesting too is that because as a people, as a structure, you know, we have not understood those laws. We've, in a sense, lost some of our powers in terms of licensing, tongue and country. The powers are still there, but we've not...
leadership will provide them...
We've not utilized them. And we've not, we've not been able to, you know, properly enact them. So we've gone for so long thinking that we don't have those powers anymore.
Precisely, but I explained to you the implications of that, the danger of it. And I need to say that to all those because I would not be around forever. if you allow the government, just remember, ministers were doing all these things in Trinidad and Tobago before. There is a cry where the country and the parliament say, no, we're not going to take those matters and give them to Tobago. No, you have to do them. If you are not able to do them or you refuse to do them, and you allow the central government who had them before to come and do them and you do nothing about it, that central government can have something of its sleeve, can go back to the national parliament and say, hey, you know that them people in Tobago come and articulate, they want roads, they want responsibility for roads. But we have to go into Tobago to fix all the roads in Tobago because they're not able to do that. I am now bringing back a motion to this parliament to withdraw back roads from Tobago and hand them back to the central government. So you can't allow it to happen. When I explain that to somebody, they say, and it's only when Kamala they come in PP, a fella said to me, I cuss your mother by when they were paving it. The person said that to me, you know. He says, only now I understand what you were doing by. Because I cuss you when you stop the road. I say, you don't understand. We have to teach you that. And that is the same thing that means, you know, you might be, you don't know what Dr. Rowley and they are about to sleep.
Yes, certainly.
You don't know. Because I'm seeing an encroachment. I see Minister Cox come up here and set up a social welfare department, social welfare board in Tobago. That's illegal, you know. And the assembly do nothing yet. You saw it? I saw Penny came up here, which is planning, and go back into town and country planning. And I am sitting there and say, where did leadership at Tobago? Or you don't know what you're doing.
Now, going back to our initial discussions, now we went through the law, we went through what the THA Act said, and you know, I mean, yes, the time is almost up, so this is the last question. I want to get your personal opinions now on the situation about the governance of Tobago right now. Should we go back to the polls?
Quickly, Candice. Antecedent is important. We had 2 elections for the THA in 2013. Sorry, in 2021. First one was 25th of January, 6-6. You remember the position we took? Said that that thing illegal, you all should not be involved in it and so on. We should fix the THA, the internal government document before the parliament, and then we go back to the poll one time. Bam, the election come down 6-6. Every one of us on this island, including you, the media, civil society, all the political parties, including the PNM, including the present Prime Minister, all of us went around this, the PDP too, went around this country telling people, it does not make any sense going back to the polls to fix the 6-6. When we are through, if we do that, we would have to go back to the polls after we fix the internal self-government thing before in the parliament. So it's best we wait until we finish the internal self-government thing before the parliament and go back to the poll one time. I remember the Prime Minister exact words to Barabi up in the other place, saying, I couldn't say what Hochoy said, you know, but you know it's the truth. He said so, you know, he said these words, you know. I couldn't say it, you know, but the truth, it doesn't make any sense going back to the polls and fix the 6-6. No, listen to what you all did. You all have no integrity, you know. This country has no integrity. Political parties have no integrity at all. We have not fixed the internal self-government thing. But we went back to the polls in December of 2021 without fixing. The same thing you say don't make no sense is where you all went and called an election in 2021 December and went back to the polls. You end up in the same fiasco. Now you're calling for another election again right now. And I'm saying, fix the internal self-government thing that you have in the parliament. And then as soon as that is fixed, you know, it's new dispensation. Yes. As soon as that is fixed, an election is due. So you want election? Fix that. And that is what Tobago should be doing right now. And said we are fixing the internal self-government thing. We're coming to have a discussion with you now to tidy up the little discrepancies that is in the document. We are going to fix that now. You want election? We're going to make sure that that is fixed and we go have an election. We could have an election. No, is all. April?
Yes.
Before the end of this year. Fix that, and we have the true election that should have been held. Every time you create an election without fixing that thing there, is blunder. Upon blunder, upon blunder. 6-6 is a blunder. We tell you all that. Don't participate in it. We tell you all that. You've gone back in 2021 December. You blunder again. You're now going back with another blunder again. Fix the self-government thing,
And then
and we are going back to the polls, and everybody will be happy. Tobago will be happy, Trinidad will be happy, and Tobago will be moving smoothly forward.
And with that point, that's how we're going to end our discussion this morning.
Love you.
Mr. Charles, it was a pleasure. As usual, you're always quite insightful. You always have a lot of information to say, and I really hope that the public is watching and is learning and paying attention to the law itself and what we can and cannot do.
Thank you, Candy.
Great. Thank you again.
Always a pleasure.
And viewers, thank you for being with us and for viewing. And stay tuned because tomorrow we'll be back and we have a lot more in store for you. So have a safe and wonderful day. Beware, mindful of the roads, be mindful of the weather systems. Just be a little bit cautious out there on the roads. And we'll see you again tomorrow.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion starts.